This is Jets at Noon with Cameron Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
Without a doubt. Yeah. We tripled them on scoring chances, so their goaltender was great, played great. Just we haven't had one of those in a while, where we dominate like that and not come out on the right end of it.
Welcome to the show, yeah. What else is there to say? Jets at Noon is brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road. VIP take on the text line today is going to win a VIP car wash from our good friends at Wash Method. Murat Atesh is going to be joining us right away. But to get your initial thoughts on this, Tyson. I mean, we're going to get into this as the show goes on. But they got, it's not an excuse. They got goalied. That's what happened. And they got goalied, and at times when the Buffalo Sabres needed to, they were they played almost perfect defense. And
they did capitalize on the chances that they did get. Very few chances that they got, but they did capitalize. And I mean, it's just James Reimer seems to have the Jets' number.
Yeah, and so, he played his game of his year at least.
And going back to San Jose too, right? Like there was I believe it might have been last year or 2 years ago, but James Reimer had an absolutely unbelievable game towards the end of the season against the Jets. And it's just like, everyone that watched him play was kind of scratching your head going, how are we getting goalied by James Reimer right now? But they did.
He just turned 37 on March 15th. He's still in the league for a reason. And this is the question I want to ask the listeners today. Is it okay to be disappointed with a loss to the lowly Buffalo Sabres, or is it more about details and than results right now? And the results aren't as important. It's about getting into the playoffs. That's the first question I got for our guest here, Jets reporter and writer with The Athletic, Murat Atesh. Hey, Murat, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. Happy to be here.
Yeah, you down at the rink for practice?
Yeah, I'm not sure you can hear the pucks and posts in the background, but yeah, I'm right here right now.
I can, and I love that sound. It sounds like there's action going on. Murat, I guess I'll ask that first question to you too. Is it okay to be disappointed with a loss to the Sabres? Or do you feel right now that this is about details and results will take care of themselves?
You know, I would like to say that those aren't mutually exclusive, that you can definitely be upset by the Winnipeg Jets losing to the Buffalo Sabres. It's not what you would expect. It's not what the standings say should happen, and you want Winnipeg to be playing at its absolute best right now. At the same time, all of my focus is, okay, well, what does this say about this team for the playoffs? What's going on? What's the process like? And for me, when they create that many scoring chances, when they spend the whole game in the other team's rink, it's mostly a situation where I think Winnipeg can play that game repeatably and win an awful lot. There were mistakes. There were things to critique. But if you're looking at it as a sign that, hey, these guys aren't for real, I think you've gone too far the other way.
Yeah, and Murat, do any of those can that kind of build up with this Jets team? Do you think that there's any carryover from the Buffalo game coming into this Washington game tomorrow where, just in the back of your head, you're like, oh man, we just can't get the results right now. That doesn't seem to be working, even though that we are happy with the way that we're playing right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back to the start of March, Winnipeg has been an average team instead of league best. I think they have the 17th most points since March 1st, the last time I checked. So that's all right, but it's clearly not number one in the NHL, and they're playing against the team they're competing with for that spot. The Jets have been really good all season long about parking wins, parking losses, focusing only on the day in front of them. I'm not expecting Buffalo to turn into a trend. I'm not expecting it to bleed into the Washington game, especially because it's so easy to circle that one on your calendar if you're a Winnipeg Jets, saying this is a test against maybe a team that we could face in the Stanley Cup final if everything goes well. So I'm not really concerned about that. If we see a stretch of 3, 4, 5 games where they're getting all of those chances and they're not burying and they're getting goalied and all those things, then we can talk about a little bit of nerves heading into round one.
Only 11 games left. I mean, you just mentioned the Jets have, 17th in points since March. What more needs to be done? Is there a line of excuses here, or is this in the Jets' court?
Well, I mean, they're a good team, a really good team with legitimate cup aspirations. And, they haven't been out of the first round since the Canadian division when they swept Edmonton and then got swept by Montreal. They have a lot to prove playoff time. That is not going away whether they win or lose down the stretch. There are, though, as much as I can point at all the chances they created, which is a wonderful sign of a good team doing good things, there are mistakes. And yesterday, the first goal they gave up, Dylan DeMello was given a pick off of a face-off. Buffalo Sabres player picked him. He was slow to get back. You want to see him battling through that moment in a playoff game. You also want to see better help defense because J.J. Peterka, who ended up scoring the goal, was almost uncontested heading into the slot once he got a step on DeMello. Winnipeg's strength, its team strength at 5-on-5, is everybody doing the right thing and making the right choices in the D zone. And it's not necessarily about having Chris Pronger at the height of his powers or, one of those elite all-world defensemen other than Josh Morrissey, we might say. It's about everybody making the right decisions. And if they don't play help defense in that moment, then they get exposed to get a goal against, despite their overall quality. So it's little moments like that you want to see them get right more often than not, as they have for so much of the season.
And you mentioned the D-corps there in particular, and I want to ask you about a member of the D-corps that hasn't been in the lineup the last few games, but has there been any updates sort of on the status of Neil Pionk? And kind of a two-pronged question, how do you feel that the defense has done in the absence of Neil Pionk?
Yeah, Neil Pionk, for him to be missing time at all with that injury is telling. He is the sort of player who has played through all manner of things over a long period in his career. He played 82 games in a season in which he cracked a bone and broke a bone in his foot and just kept going through it, though he was struggling to get up and down his garage stairs. So the fact that he's missing time, the week-to-week thing, I completely believe. I don't know the latest in terms of just how far away he is. I'm expecting him back in time for the playoffs, which is obviously what you want. In terms of how they played without him, the timing has worked out that we've seen an awful lot of Luke Schenn, and we see what he does well. I mean, the physicality, the hitting, the protecting of the net front, that's been really good. Certainly, he gives up a lot to Pionk in terms of puck movement. His breakout passes, short ones in his D zone, great, but those long stretch passes Pionk can pull off, those are missing from the Jets lineup right now with him gone. Beyond that, you've seen Hayden Fleury play an elevated role. You saw Logan Stanley come back into it yesterday. I think they need Pionk back in a big way, just to cement their depth, because I don't think that, if you've got Fleury and or Stanley in the lineup, that they haven't been some of your best defenders for so much of the season. So long way of putting it, I think that they've done well with what they have. But, I just said they were legitimate cup contenders a second ago. I think they need a healthy defense to get that done.
I want to get your thoughts on this, Murat, and about the playing the right way when the playoffs begin, right? We've seen teams struggle at the tail end of a season, and then when the playoffs start, they do well. The Jets last year had an 8-game winning streak going into the postseason. They lose out in Colorado in 5. Is it more of a cliche in the hockey world to say, oh, you have to be playing your best hockey come the playoffs? Does momentum carry on from the season to the playoffs? Are they two separate entities, like periods? Can you carry momentum from one period to the next? I'm not sure you can.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of analytical studies that suggest it's not as big of a thing as we feel like it is. But at the same time, when you get into the people who try to predict success in the playoffs, and hockey is a chaotic game, it has its own personality. We saw what happened to Winnipeg last year against Colorado, and we also saw when they limped into the playoffs and St. Louis beat them back in 2019. Sometimes looking at that is a little bit difficult, but there are people who try to do projections, and they do slightly better than others, and what they seem to say is those last 20 to 25 games down the stretch, they do have some predictive power. It is not the same as saying definitely, a team that's been hot down the stretch is going to win. The hockey, it just doesn't work like that. But it does matter a little bit. And the just human reason for that I can think of is it's so much easier when stressed, when pushed against the limit, when being pushed to the playoff intensity. You go back to your instincts, what you've honed all season, all of the habits that you've picked up. And if those habits have been at the top level for the last 20, 25 games heading into the playoffs, it's probably a whole lot easier to get back to those. So I would rather be the team playing on fire on the way into the playoffs, even if it didn't work for Winnipeg last year.
Murat Atesh, Jets reporter and writer with The Athletic. One of the best in the biz. Murat, thanks so much. Enjoy practice. Enjoy tomorrow's game. It's a big one. Yeah, no, our pleasure.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks,
have a good
Murat.
one. Yeah, 204-780-6868, 204-780-6868. Let's take a break. Let's come back. Yeah, I think it's more of a psychological thing. You know, it's definitely a cliche in a lot of sense, because I don't believe you can carry momentum. I believe you can carry momentum through a period in the playoffs, but from the first to the second, I think it's a total wash.
It's like the clutch thing too, right? Like, these things probably do exist, but how much can you really quantify them, and how can you really show them besides just anecdotally?
On a more important note, okay, Jim Toth, I thought was coming back today. Obviously, he's not. The whole office side was coming back today, so I don't know why he's holding information from everybody. And well, Jim Toth is like baseline a liar. Can't believe a word that comes out of his mouth. This cements it. So Jim will be back tomorrow, I think. Who knows?
I mean,
why he shows up when he wants.
We just
anyways.
gotta play it by ear.
Yeah,
it's like the Le'Veon Bell situation with the Steelers a while ago. We don't know when he's coming back.
We don't know when he's coming back. I have that same sweater. I think I have the same sweater. Did your mom get that for you?
I actually don't know where I got this sweater from.
Okay,
but probably
because I think my mom got it for me at Costco. Because that looks. Does that make sense?
That sounds
right.
Yeah, that sounds right. I love this.
It's a great sweater.
Very
it's got head on the side, to tennis.
It lets me know where to put my head in the sweater.
So it's nice. You got good taste. That's what I'm saying. And our mums, I think, both shop at Costco. Still to come. Hey, after this, we're going to get to your thoughts. We're going to talk more about the loss against Buffalo and the importance of it, why it's okay, I feel, to be a little upset to lose to the lowly Senators, but why there's a bigger picture here. We'll discuss that at 12:30. But Mark Scheifele's bought himself a team. Did you see this?
No.
Do you know anything about this?
No.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm talking about. Scheif, owner. When we come back.
Jets at noon with Cameron Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
Yeah, the WHL has awarded an expansion franchise to the Penticton Vs. I used to be, the Merritt Centennials aren't even in the BCHL anymore, but when I was there, I did a little bit of color for them. So I saw a lot of the Penticton Vs as they creamed the Merritt Centennials.
They're pretty good.
Oh,
they're always
great franchise now in the dub. But this is interesting. Because Josh Morrissey's the part owner of the women's professional soccer team, the Calgary Wild, in his hometown. I guess Scheifele wasn't going to let that hold that over him, because now, as I had my sports report, Mark Scheifele is being named as a part of the group that is taking the Penticton Vs from the BCHL to the WHL. What do you think about this? I mean, to me, this is fun. Like, if you got the cash, who wouldn't want to own a sports team? It's like totally. Betting juices up a game. Imagine owning that team. Imagine how much that juices up a game.
Well, I mean, I'm all aboard on that.
Yeah.
The way you put it there, I kind of want to buy maybe a really semi pro
Me and
sports
you,
team.
Let's get together. Let's put our pennies together, rub a couple of nickels.
Hey, maybe we can start a handball league. Like a nationwide handball league, and we can start our home base.
You ever watch handball on TV?
It's intense.
It was like when I was in Europe. They freaking go crazy for handball.
I feel like
the goalie's just, he's just like, he looks like
throwing a leg.
He looks
up.
like an octopus out there.
I feel like you give me 4 years to train for it. I think I can make the Canadian handball team.
We're focusing on our game each night, shift by shift, practice by practice. That mentality. I think we'll get back to that tomorrow. But I mean, there's some positive to take out of that game. I think we'll get back to practice, and we're ready for the next one here soon.
That's Murat. Murat just joined us earlier. If you missed that, download the podcast, which is free on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you find your favorite podcast, with exclusive Jets talking content only found there. And take Jets at noon wherever you go and continue the conversation whenever you want. Set it to auto. Set it to auto download, and you won't miss a second. Jets at noon is brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road. VIP take on the text line to win a VIP car wash. My good friends at Wash Method. 204-780-6868. We'll announce the winner later on in the show. That was Brandon Tanev following the game yesterday. So when you lose Tyson Nowicki, in for Jim Toth, who I believe will be back tomorrow, but who knows? You have to take things away from it. Like, you got to learn from it. You can't just say, whatever, throw it away. We're moving on. It's nothing to learn from that. You have to take things away. But I think I think, and I say this with the utmost respect, if you're watching that game and you're severely disappointed and are now starting to brace yourself for what you see as signs, and we're going to get to a bunch of text messages after here, and I'll read a few of you. And this is sort of the theme of today's episode is this. I think if you're starting to see signs of this team starting to falter, I think you're incorrect. I think yesterday was a sign of this team amping things up because, and I'm just going to go to Alan. We'll get this text message in here because he laid it all out here. Alan texts the show 204-780-6868. He says, Reimer absolutely stole the game with all the stats favoring the Jets over the Sabres. Shots on goals, 36-17. Scoring chances, 32-9. 32-9 scoring chances.
Crazy.
High danger chances, 13-2. Expected goals, the Jets 4, not even 2 for the Buffalo Sabres. So you play this game 99 more times, and the Sabres lose all the rest of those games. The odds suggesting that there. So when the Jets took that 2-1 lead, they were outshooting Buffalo at that time 24-6. Okay? They got goalied. It's not an excuse. It's what's happened. And also, I need to give the Sabres a little bit of credit. They played near perfect defense when the chips were down and they needed their defense to show up. They did. That's on them. I don't say this to be exclamatory or anything like that. The Jets beat the crap out of them last night.
Yeah.
Yesterday afternoon, I should say. Sabres got a couple of blows in and they won the fight, right? But they took 70 body shots, a couple to the face. The Sabres got a couple of real good shots in, and they ended up winning that game. I didn't think Comrie was very strong. Is that a tough game to play in when you're not seeing that much action? I don't know. You come from a goaltending family, Tyson, so maybe you can answer that question for me a little bit. But that's that game. That's the game. There's nothing to overanalyze. There's nothing really to sink your teeth into and like what went wrong. The Jets need to keep playing like that.
Yeah.
Says Murat said, they need to keep playing like that. But that's why you play the game, right? These games aren't foregone conclusions. You have to play them. And the Sabres, they played well enough to win, but the Jets were far and away the better team.
Yeah, well, and even if we just look at kind of like the heat map and looking at different where those scoring chances were coming from the Jets, I mean, it's just a blob in front of the net. Mm-hmm. Like it's a lot of pucks getting towards the front of the net, scrambles, slot shots too, and there was a couple times too where it was just unlucky. Like where there was that one play where in the third period where Reimer fell down and Niederreiter had the puck along the sidewalls, and just the way where Nino was and where Reimer was, there wasn't much anywhere else to shoot really. Yeah. But if he puts the puck anywhere else on the net, he's going to score. It just so happened to be right where James Reimer was holding up his glove, and so you look at some of the chances that they got, and like you mentioned, this is easily. You can easily do this again in future games going down. And, you mentioned Eric Comrie too. Yeah, you would. It is a tough game to play in. Your focus, you got to really be dialed in when you're not getting that many shots. But at the same time, you got to make a save. Yeah. Right? Like that's what's separating Connor Hellebuyck and Eric Comrie is that Connor Hellebuyck's able to pull out at least one of those goals into a save, probably even two. But it out of all of the games in the past where the Jets have maybe struggled, like over this last little stretch where they're not doing as great as they were before record-wise, I feel like this game in particular is one where I look at it and be like, you just kind of shrug your shoulders and go, hey, just keep it up. Let's keep the pedal to the metal and we'll figure things out. It's a
bit of like, the 14-1 run to start things off. It's a little bit of evening off from there. Another thing to take away too is the Jets didn't back off. They kept pushing to the very end. And they didn't just like push. They generated high danger chance, great opportunities, great looks, time after time throughout that entire game. So that's what happened. Let's get some text messages from you guys as well. This texter says, "Afternoon, guys. 5 goals on 17 shots. Unacceptable." Jeff says the Jets got schooled, and Stanley is no good. Okay, Jeff. I mean, what did you see from Stanley's game?
He had 2 points in that last game. I mean,
I think Jeff, and we've got text from him before. He hates Logan Stanley for whatever reason that he holds on to. He's not a fan of Logan Stanley.
I mean,
but you can't say they got schooled, Jeff. I mean, were you watching? They were not schooled.
Yeah,
the Jets did not get schooled in that game.
I'm not a huge fan of Logan Stanley's play either.
Yeah.
But to harp on him in this game in particular, I just think that's a little biased there. I'm
with you. Mike texts and says that was a massive trap game. Yeah. Donna says, yes, Reimer always plays well against us, but my hometown boy got a goal. Tyson Kozak, after he almost got his first NHL goal against the Winnipeg Jets in Buffalo. It was called back. Souris, Manitoba boy is able to pot one here in Manitoba.
That's pretty crazy to have.
It was the difference in the game. So you know what? I'm happy for Tyson Kozak. I'm happy for his family. But maybe save it for tomorrow. Well, or the next time they play.
And now it's like that have 2 NHL goals in your career and you've scored 2 against the Jets. One of them didn't count.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's the way she
goes.
It was
goaltender interference, man. That's the way she goes.
Read the rule book.
That's right. This texter says, it's starting to get uncomfortable, their play and the time of the season. We should not be seeing this at this time of year. That I told you so is starting to creep in. Come on, Jets. Don't do this to us. My heart can't take it. Get Kupari back in the lineup. I mean, we could see Kupari come back. But they want Morgan Barron and they want Alex Iafallo in. They want Brandon Tanev in. And unfortunately, Kupari is just the guy that's on the outside looking in because you're not taking anybody else out. Kupari, I mean, did he play well? Yeah, he played pretty dang good this season. But when you have a list of those guys on your fourth line, you're not moving any.
And he just doesn't fit on the fourth line really, right? Like you don't have that big body that you do in Barron.
That's right. And Barron's playing center because they don't want him out of the lineup.
Yeah.
And listen, I mean, this is where things start to get heightened, and especially when you're 11 games away from the playoffs, anxiety is starting to rise for the puck drop on that. Excitement, anticipation, all that sort of stuff. We gotta drop the puck. Like we can't. You know what? Hopefully the Jets are going to make the playoffs sometime this week. It's going to happen. Maybe hopefully tomorrow Jets do it. They win against Washington. There's a whole other slew of scenarios where the Jets end up being a postseason team. So let's just take care of business and then let's look towards the postseason. Kevin's Texas show and says last year Jets had a 7-8 game winning streak going into the playoffs. They dominated the Avs all year, and we know what happened this year heading into the playoffs. I say just play the right way, just their own game. Yeah, Kevin, I go off on this. We've now created the podcast exclusive segment. Now it is specifically its own audio, like its own episode. So download that and set it again to auto download, and you won't get away from that. I go off on this. So if you want to hear my full take on that,
it's a very good point.
Yeah, it is a great text message, Kevin. But if you want to hear my full point on it, it is in the podcast exclusive portion of the podcast. Mauricio says, I don't think you can carry momentum from game to game or series to series, but you can definitely carry confidence. Well, the Jets aren't a team that lacks confidence. I don't think at all. I think they totally know that they've earned this spot, and they're going to have to keep earning it. And I don't think that that's wavered at all. I don't think confidence is an issue with the Jets. I don't think Mauricio was suggesting that the Jets, he was just making a point, which I agree with, but I don't think the Jets are a team that's lacking confidence.
No, and it's like the old placebo kind of thing, right? Like where it's, there's momentum, and like, are you able to carry momentum from game to game? I thought you can't really quantify that and provide evidence, but at the same time, I mean, if it's working for you and you think that you are building momentum from game to game, then hey, use that kind of thought process to keep that all going.
Ken says, hi, Cam and Tyson. It's coming down to goaltending once again. Against the Canucks, Helly did let in a couple of soft goals. He did the same against the Oilers. Yesterday, the short-handed goal Comrie let in was almost like he forgot he was in the game. Well, that was on a short-handed breakaway. You know, you got to give the goaltender a benefit of the doubt in a situation like that. The first two, I think, are totally fair game. He didn't react to the shot. He was too far out of the net. This is when the goaltending needs to be stellar. Do you think he was too far out of the net on that one?
I'd have to see it again. Just off the top of my head, I can't picture it, but I think his depth was okay. It was more so just, the positioning was a little off. He was just a tiny bit off on his angle.
Mm-hmm. Bruce says, despite Reimer's great game, the Jets looked sloppy again. The best D pairing was the third. Our top line was again off their game from Bruce. Connor, Scheifele, and Velarde have 4 combined points for the last 4 games. 2 assists from Scheifele, 2 goals from Kyle Connor, and no points from Velarde. But just hold on to your hats, everybody. They're the top scoring line in the NHL. They have the most goals. It's going to start going in. My opinion. Billy says, should the Jets and especially Hellebuyck study the consecutive loss games versus Vegas, Montreal, and Colorado? Losing that quickly in a series is the opposite of how they battled with Nashville in 2018 with the same core. Billy, it is a totally different core.
Yeah.
It's a totally different core. Josh Morrissey still here. Adam Lowry still here. Nikolai Ehlers is still here. Connor Hellebuyck, Mark Scheifele. Those are 5 parts, but there's a huge amount of changeover.
And then just the way the team plays is different. It's much different. With Scott Arniel too.
Oh God, yeah.
I don't think we make enough or give enough kudos to Scott Arniel in this aspect, where it's just this team has the ability to change the way they play on a dime and from game to game, depending on who their opponent is. And we just haven't really seen that so much in past seasons for the Jets. And I think that's going to be a huge addition and huge impact come playoff time, where Scott Arniel has that adaptability to really put the guys on the ice in the best situations to succeed.
Eric says, I believe momentum in game exists during the playoffs, but not from game to game. From game to game, it's more about adjustments rather than momentum. Last year, Colorado lost game 1. They made the right adjustments that the Jets didn't counter series over. Eric, yeah, the Jets were also lucky to get out of the game 1 with a win. But I
don't think you can, but I do think there's something to say when you do go down in a series. Like, if you're down 2-1 and you're going into that game.
This iteration of the Jets have not come back from being down in a series.
Right. And I think that it's just, you start to squeeze a little bit tighter.
Yeah.
And everything kind of gets magnified. And, that's those are kind of those pressure situations that we're talking about. Like, are you going to be able to, can you make that decision with only half a second less than you do in the regular season, right? And then all those things get amplified, and you want to be the guy who makes a difference, but can you always make that difference? That's a big question.
And one more here before we take a break. The Jets are giving their postseason deja vu out in the first round of the playoffs. Comrie couldn't stop anything difficult, and our shooters can't get goals. The powerless power play, especially in 5-on-3 situations, just tic-tac-toe, feed the goalie rubber. Show us they can be winners. Robert, have they not shown that they can win hockey games? They're 100 points. They're, leading the division here. It's not over, but if you look at the odds makers, it's an 85% chance of winning the Central Division. Still got to get there. Still got to do it. I think they've proven they can win.
Yeah.
And I think Robert right now is referencing the postseason, that they haven't proven they can win in the playoffs. And that's a fair point, but this team can win hockey games. Let's take a break. Let's come back. On the other side, we'll give away our Wash Method Car Wash from 690 St. Anne's Road. We'll give away the winner and more time for your guys' thoughts on the loss, 5-3 to the Buffalo Sabres. We'll be right back.
Jets at noon with Cameron Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
Welcome back to Jets at noon. We'll give an update on practice. Seems like Gabriel Velarde was not a part of the practice today, which I sort of suspect he might be battling something. So Iafallo had moved up. Kapari was online in the 4th line. So when Iafallo moves up, usually it's a maintenance day situation, but we'll wait and see what happens. But no Gabe Velarde today at Jets practice as well. Of course, Neil Pionk is week to week. Let's take a look at the Wash Method Car Wash VIP text down at 690 St. Anne's Road. Jason has the best text VIP of the day. He says, hi there. It's well known that there are different gears that teams need to shift into throughout a year, and then another gear once the playoffs start. It will be interesting to see if the Jets have another gear, or is this the ceiling? Only games 83 to 69 will tell. That one from Jason. Yeah. Do the Jets have that other gear? I think they do, but listen, and we got another text from here. This one's from Christine and says, of course, I hope you're right that last week's play is not a sign, but I think you can understand why Jets Nation may be gun shy. 100%. 100% I understand why there's some doubt within Winnipeg Jets fans. Because they've been let down.
I honestly think too that the moves that they made at the deadline, while they weren't like the sexiest moves that they could have made, I think you're really going to see come playoff time just how important those moves were when it comes to the pace of play and the physicality that Tanev and Schenn were going to bring. I mean, that hit that Tanev had behind the net in the Buffalo game. I mean, he just thumped that guy. I mean, and it's that kind of presence that carries over into the playoffs, and that the rest of the team just feeds off that. So I think those two guys and those two moves are going to have a really big impact when it comes to how the other guys carrying the load too, physical wise.
This texter says, hi, Cam and Tyson. Yes, we got goalied. Again, no problem. Move on to the next one. I feel bad for Combs. They should make Heat jerseys for games like that. He must have been cold. Love Comrie. Go Jets. Go. That one from Perry. This texter says, Pionk is so huge to the top four. PP point man, moves the puck well. Schenn is not a top four guy. He's good, but not top four. He's missed big time, although 64 was arguably their best man. Very steady last night. Yeah, I mean, Neil Pionk, huge part of the team. Absolutely. And it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen with him. There were some rumors going around that the Winnipeg Jets were actively trying to re-sign him. I don't know where that is, and if that's true. But I think that Neil Pionk's the guy the Winnipeg Jets are definitely going to want to try and keep.
I wouldn't be surprised too if that's if they kind of just shut down extension talks for everyone, and it was just like after Vlad, it was like, well, that one was kind of we had it in place. These other ones are going to take a little bit more brain power. So let's just have everyone focus on the playoffs, and then we'll reconvene after the season's over.
Alex Iafallo, this from Kelly Moore down at Jets practice day as well. Alex Iafallo taking place of Gabe Vilardi in practice on the Jets' #1 power play unit. So, Kelly also said after taking a puck to the side of the head in the first period in Buffalo, clearing attempt, he got a cut there. Gabe Vilardi not on the ice for Jets practice at Hockey for All Center this afternoon. Neil Pionk also remains on the absentee list as well. So we wait and see. Thank you very much, Tyson Rowicki. Great job on the show today, as always. Thank you very much, Jeffrey Forche, for producing the show. You're the best. We'll be back same time tomorrow. See ya.